Hi, my name is Tomoko Lee. I've taken Sogetsu lessons from Yoshiko Williams since 2010. My floral arrangement philosophy is to use natural and garden materials as much as possible. While I like making arrangements, I'm also an avid gardener. My favorite flowers to grow are calla lilies, camellias, hydrangeas, and gardenias. But nothing is more satisfying than growing roses. Roses need a lot of attention to avoid insects and diseases. But when you see them bloom and smell, you will forget all the hard work. I have been an active member and the webmaster for a local gardening club called Peninsula Rose Society for the last 16 years. I have 20-some bushes and my roses look happier and healthier in April in my area, which is between San Francisco and San Jose. But today I'm making arrangement with a few roses that are still blooming in spite of the hot weather. I'm using a few ingredients today. This is rock and roll, a grandiflora rose, very thorny, but its bicolor stripe is very unique. And this one is a fire in ice. It's a Floribunda rose, red outside and white inside. And this one is a double delight. It's a hybrid tea rose. As the name suggests, the cream and red blend color as well as the fragrance delight you twice. As for foliage, I'm using Japanese maple. This was given by a good friend of mine, Yuko, who moved to Switzerland. And this one is called a Mexican feathergrass. It's a very delicate and sways in the slightest wind. And lastly, this is dried magnolia branches that I salvaged from a dying tree. My plan is to use these branches as a vertical structure without kenzan or base. Instead, I'm using floral wire to secure branches and also these water tubes. So I have these magnolia branches. I'm gonna start assembling as if this is almost like a scaffolding. And once I find a right spot, I'm gonna secure with the wire, which is really hard to do when you're by yourself. So idea is to keep, this is a vertical arrangement. I already cut some wires so I don't have to release my hand. And I'm putting cut wires in a white place so I can actually see, because this is the same color as the brown, the tabletop. And as you add more branches, it's gonna be more stable. So I'm gonna just add one by one. So these magnolia branches almost looks like a antler, like a deer antler. So any cross area is a good area to tie two branches. And I use brown floral wires as opposed to green, because this is almost like muted color. So voila, so it actually stays. So I am pretty happy with the structure. It's I use up all of the branches and looks pretty secure. So I'm gonna start cutting these excess wires so it doesn't look bad. And once you cut, you can kind of tuck into between branches. So I'm happy with the way it works, and everything, all the wires are nicely trimmed. And I'm gonna move on to putting water tubes. These are bigger water tubes than the normal one that you can find at the flower supply store. This is a little too small. I couldn't find any of that size from either San Francisco Flower Market and or Amazon. So I'm using this one for my son's like a toy. It's a science test tube I just kept. maybe 10 years ago. Anyway, so I am using wires. So wrap around these ones. So cut the wire relatively long because you have to wrap the tube, this big tube, I would say. And then I'm using 5 tubes because that's all I have. And this is gonna be, I think 5 roses. And so I wanna determine where roses go, and I wanna keep the roses height upper as if this is like kind of floating in the sky. So wrap twice and secure here, and then attach to the branch. So I finished putting all these 5 water tubes, plastic tubes, and then trim the edge of wires. And now I'm gonna fill the water to here. This is a succulent watering bottle, which is very convenient for a tight space and small water tubes like this. Okay, I finished putting water. I'm gonna put roses, starting out with rock and roll. And roses, if you have any petals that looks a little bit too bloom, too open, you can take out the petals and cut in water. I'm gonna actually take some thorns because rock and roll is a very thorny, so the thorn is actually in the way in the bottle. So you can just take roses with your hand. It's easy to put in water tube. This one is a fire in ice. It's beautiful. It's white inside, red outside. And this one is not thorny. Put right here. And the last one is, this is Double Delight. So roses, when you submit for exhibit, and if your roses are not fully bloomed, you use a Q-tip to kind of slowly open up the bloom. So I put all 5 roses. Now I move on to putting some Japanese maples. And this one I'm using smaller, just regular size water tubes that you can find either Amazon or flower supply market. And this one I need these things, the cap. And I can trim what I don't need. Then put cap first. Then put this one. Oops. Put the water all the way to the top. And put the cap on. Because this may not go straight, so the reason I'm putting cap is that if it goes like this, the water doesn't drip. And then I need to cut wire first and tie twice with a tube and secure. And try to hide the water tube of the roses. I think you can also put branches in between so it doesn't fall. Now I'm gonna put Mexican feather. And I am not using water sources for these Mexican feathers. It actually lasts long without water. And what I want to do is I kind of want to put like a bunch and then put in a wire and then like swaying like this direction, upper side. I'm gonna use green for the wire and cut first before I just grab the big bunch, then tie again twice, and then I will just keep this one because I'm gonna tie to the branch, and I trim the bottom the same height. Trimming the bottom. Kind of like doing this so it's not gonna be too straight. It's gonna be like this. And put it somewhere around here. Alright. Then I'm gonna tie to the branch. By the way, actually I'm making arrangement towards me. This is the front, this is the back. I finished putting a Mexican feather. The last finishing touch is to try to cover water tubes as much as possible by putting rose leaves. I have a more flower arrangement video in my personal YouTube channel, which you can find the link in the video description below, as well as information about Peninsula Rose Society if you are interested in growing roses. Thank you for watching this video. 最後まで見ていただいてどうもありがとうございました。